Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The door creaked open with a reluctance that matched my own heartbeat. There was a silence in our apartment, the kind that preceded storms, and as I stepped in, the scent of jasmine, the one she liked, hit me first, then the sight that stopped everything inside me. Lana, my wife of 7 years, was on our bed, an intricate pattern of red shibari rope encasing her. A ball gag stifled her usual chatter, her eyes wide and darting straight at me. Near her, in the chair I had bought for our anniversary, sat Derek, my secret of 6 months, clad only in his disarray. He smirked, twisting a loose strand of rope around his finger, his other hand preoccupied with himself. "I wasn't expecting you so early, Jack," Derek said, his voice a sing-song of mock surprise. My breath caught, hands clenching at my sides. I had left early to surprise them, to celebrate the news that I was about to share. The promotion, the one that would change our lives. Instead, this tableau. What is this? My voice cracked like the fragile veneer of our relationships. Lana's muffled sounds tried to pierce through the gag, her eyes pleading, or accusing. It was hard to tell. Derek stood, stretching like a cat in the sun, unabashed. "Just playing a game, Jackie boy. Relax. Why don't you join us?" His invitation slid through the air, greasy and unwelcome. "No games," I spat out, moving closer. The skein of unused shibari rope from the side table seemed to leap into my hand, its coil weighty with potential. "What did you do to her?" Derek chuckled, stepping towards Lana, his hand reaching out to caress the rope that marked her skin. "Oh, she likes it. Don't you, Lana?" I was beside him in 2 strides, the rope in my hand swinging with a life of its own. It connected with a thud against his cheek, the sound louder than I intended. Derek stumbled back, surprise morphing into amusement, then into a there's the spirit. Come on, Jack, show me how you really feel. His taunt was a red flag, a dare that I shouldn't take, but the rage, the betrayal, it poisoned my logic. "You think this is a joke?" I advanced, rope raised again. But before I could decide on my next move, Lana's muffled cries grew frantic, her body writhing against the bindings. "Jack, don't," the clarity in her voice through the gag startled me. My arms dropped, the rope hanging limply by my side. "We need to talk," I said, the weight of the situation settling over me like a shroud. "Both of you, untied and dressed." Derek rubbed his reddening cheek, eyeing the rope with a newfound respect. "You heard the man," he said, moving towards Lana with a sigh. "Fun's over, I guess?" As I watched him untie her, the complexity of my emotions tangled tighter than any shibari knot. The scene before me blurred as I tried to piece together the shards of my life. Love, lust, betrayal, all woven together in a messy tapestry that I was part of. What was next? I wasn't sure. But I was certain of one thing: this was just the beginning. The apartment hums with an uneasy silence as Lana, now free from her bindings, wraps a robe tightly around her. Derek, somewhat less cavalier than before, pulls on his shirt, avoiding my glare. My fingers twitch around the rope I still hold, a lifeline in the chaos. "Jack, please," Lana begins, her voice trembling. "Let me explain." I nod stiffly, my anger a simmering pot threatening to boil over. "Explain then." Derek, now fully dressed, saunters to the kitchen area, fetching himself a glass of water. "You guys sort it out. I'm just the guest here." "Not just a guest," I snap, causing him to pause mid-sip. "Seems you've made yourself quite at home, Derek." Lana sits, her posture defeated. "It's not what you think, Jack. It was a one-time thing." "An experiment?" "A one-time experiment with my lover?" My voice rises, incredulous. Or she flinches. "You and Derek?" Before I can respond, a knock at the door cuts through the mounting tension. Confused, I stride over and open it to reveal Rachel, Lana's best friend, her face etched with concern. "Lana," I heard shouting, "is everything okay?" Rachel's gaze flicks between us, settling on the rope in my hand. Lana stands rushing over. "It's fine, Rach, just a misunderstanding." Rachel's skeptical look doesn't wane as she steps inside, her lawyerly instincts kicking in. Mind if I stay for a bit, just to make sure? Derek scoffs, rolling his eyes. What is this, an intervention? Ignoring him, I address Rachel. Actually, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can make sense of this mess. With Rachel now part of the audience, Lana's confession spills out. Her loneliness, her curiosity about the shibari art form, and how Derek offered to show her just as friends. How things escalated, but it meant nothing emotional. Rachel listens, her brow furrowed, then turns to me. And where do you fit in this, Jack? Why? The question hangs heavy, and my confession follows. About my hidden desires, my affair with Derek, how it started as an escape from our marital problems, never meant to intertwine with Lana. Rachel's gaze softens. You're both seeking something you haven't found in each other lately? Derek, who had been quiet, now steps forward. I never meant to come between you two. Honestly, I didn't know about Jack and Lana's troubles till later. And you just happened to keep seeing both. Rachel's skepticism is palpable. It's complicated, he says, a hint of sincerity in his tone. Complicated doesn't begin to cover it, I mutter. We need to figure this out, but how? Rachel proposes, why don't we try to talk it out, all of us, clear the air, maybe see a counselor? Lana nods, wiping away a stray tear. I'd like that, if you're willing, Jack. Looking around at the three of them, the layers of betrayal and confusion slowly start to peel away, revealing just how broken we all were. Maybe Rachel's right. Maybe through talking, some path forward would emerge. Okay, I agree reluctantly. We'll try counseling. As Rachel organizes everyone into the living room, setting up an impromptu session, I wonder if this tangle of relationships can ever be unraveled, or if some knots were meant to remain tied. Yet as I glance at Lana, at Derek, and then at Rachel, who seems to have taken charge as the mediator, I realize that maybe it's worth trying to mend the phrase, even if it's one strand at a time. The air in Dr. Elsie Moreno's office is thick with the scent of eucalyptus and a silent tension that blankets us all. Dr. Moreno, a seasoned couples therapist recommended by Rachel, has an office that looks like a sanctuary from chaos, with plush blue sofas and soft lighting. Today, it hosts our quartet of strained relationships. We sit in a semicircle, the distance between each of us palpable. Dr. Moreno, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, observes us before speaking. Let's start with what brought you here, she suggests, her voice calm, grounding. Jack, would you? I nod, clearing my throat. It started when I came home early to surprise my wife, and I found her with Derek. My words hang in the air, heavy with the residue of betrayal. And how did that make you feel? Dr. Moreno probes gently. Betrayed. Angry. Confused. I confess, my eyes darting between Lana and Derek, especially since Derek and I were also seeing each other. Dr. Moreno's pen pauses mid-note. I see. And Lena, how do you respond to this? Lena's hands are clasped tightly in her lap. I was experimenting with something I thought was harmless. I didn't mean to hurt Jack. Derek interjects, and I didn't know they were having issues until much later. Dr. Moreno turns to him. Derek, why continue with both relationships knowing they are connected? He shrugs, a defensive edge to his posture. I thought I was helping Lana explore her boundaries, and with Jack, it was different. Exploring boundaries or exploiting them. Rachel cuts in sharply, her protective instinct over Lana clear. Dr. Moreno raises a hand, signaling for calm. This is a safe space. Let's try to understand each other's perspectives without judgment. The session unfolds with a series of confessions and accusations, each revelation untangling some of our knotted emotions. Dr. Moreno guides us through a difficult dialogue about trust, desire, and the complexities of love. As the hour wanes, she leans forward. It sounds like there are issues of honesty and open communication here. What do you all want from these relationships? Lena speaks first, her voice steady. I want to rebuild trust with Jack. I I meet her gaze, the pain evident, but so is the love. I want that too. But we need transparency. All of us. Derek nods slowly. I need to step back. I realize now I might have been intrusive. Rachel looks between us all, then adds, and I think you all need to decide if this complexity is sustainable long-term. Dr. Morneo concludes the session with a plan for individual and joint counseling sessions. It's about weaving new patterns, she states. That takes time and effort from everyone. As we leave her office, the sky outside mirrors the tumult within, cloudy with a chance of clarity. Lena reaches for my hand, a small, hopeful gesture. I squeeze back, acknowledging the shared path ahead. The drive home is quiet, each of us lost in thought. Today's session had laid bare our vulnerabilities and the tangled web we wove. The road to recovery would be long and uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it seemed possible to navigate it together. 3 weeks post our initial therapy session, the dynamic in our household has shifted subtly but significantly. Lana and I have been diligently attending our counseling sessions with Dr. Moreno, both together and individually. Derek, meanwhile, has taken a step back as he promised, his presence now more peripheral than pivotal. It's late on a Thursday evening when Rachel drops by unexpectedly, her face etched with concern that doesn't match the casualness of her knock. I open the door, surprised. Rachel, what's up? Everything okay? She steps inside, a manila envelope in her hand. We need to talk, she says, her tone serious, glancing toward where Lena is setting down 2 cups of tea on the coffee table. What's going on? Lena asks, noting the tension in Rachel's posture. Rachel doesn't sit. Instead, she hands me the envelope. I did some digging into Derek. Something didn't sit right with me about his too easy retreat from your lives. Lena and I exchange a puzzled look. I tear open the envelope, drawing out a sheaf of papers, photos, and documents that spill onto the coffee table. These are bank statements, property records, and is that a marriage certificate? Lana's voice trembles slightly as she picks up a document, her eyes widening as she reads the names. Derek is married? Yes, Rachel confirms. And not just that, he's been manipulating multiple people like he did, you both, weaving a web of lies and deceit. His wife contacted me after I started asking around. She's been looking for him for months now. Lena sits heavily on the sofa, her face pale. Why would he do this to us, to his wife? He thrives on control, Rachel explains, sitting next to Lana and taking her hand. He uses emotional leverage as a weapon. His wife believes he's into some shady business dealings too. I sift through the documents, each revealing another layer of Derek's duplicity. Rage mixes with relief. Relief that we found out before it was too late? What do we do now? I ask, feeling a protective fury build inside me. The first step is to confront him with legal backup. His wife wants to as well. And then you both will need to decide how you want to handle the fallout, Rachel advises. The next day, under the stern eye of a lawyer Rachel had brought, we confront Derek at a coffee shop. He arrives, not expecting the reception waiting for him. Derek, care to explain this? I thrust the marriage certificate towards his face pales, his usual charm nowhere in sight. Jack, Lana, I can explain. Save it, Lana cuts him off, standing firm. We know everything, and your wife is here. Derek turns to see his wife approaching, her expression steely. The confrontation is tense, with accusations and denials flying until Derek's facade crumbles under the weight of his own deceit. In the end, Derek leaves with his wife, promising to untangle the financial and emotional mess he's created. The legal implications for him loom large. As we watch him go, Lana leans against me, her body shaking slightly. I never imagined this, that someone could be so deceitful. I know, I say, wrapping an arm around her, but we learned something important. And what's that? Lena looks up at me, her eyes searching mine. That we can face the worst together and come out stronger. and that we have friends who look out for us, I say, nodding toward Rachel, who offers a small, supportive smile. The surprise ending isn't just about Derek's deceit, but about the resilience and unity that adversity can foster. Lena and I return home, our relationship no longer tethered by past mistakes, but reinforced by our shared resolve to rebuild and trust, not just in each other, but in the strength of the bonds we choose to weave in the future.